Centerpoint Church, may the Lord bless all of you. My name is Freddy Ramos, and I am one of the teaching pastors here at Centerpoint. Been attending over here for multiple years. I love this church, and I have a small word of encouragement for you. It was on the year 2000, give it or take, when the movie Miss Congeniality was actually released. Famous actress Sandra Bullock, acting as Gracie Hart. She infiltrated the ranks of a U.S. beauty pageant, I believe it's Miss USA, but she was in fact an FBI agent, and she had a mission. It was to save the contestants. There was a potential bomb threat. However, like many of these movies, at the very end, you have to reveal your identity. Who are you? Who is this mysterious Gracie Hart? Why she knows so much about fighting, all of that, and she reveals her identity. Similarly, when it comes to the Gospels, at the very end of the Gospel, specifically Matthew 27, verse 57 and on, we have an interesting disciple called Joseph of Arimathea. So when you read the Gospels, you're in awe because you haven't heard anything about him till that very given moment. And then the matter gets more complicated, more complex when we start looking at the synoptics and the Gospel of John, so trying to make the pieces fit together. So for example, Mark called Joseph of Arimathea, he was a member of the council, which I had to assume it was the Sanhedrin Council. Matthew described him as a rich person who was a disciple of Christ. In the Gospel of Luke, we have this description of a good man that was waiting for the kingdom of God, a good and righteous man. And then finally, we have the Gospel of John that also describes him as a disciple that came during the night asking for the body of Jesus. But we have to remember the context. What is happening here in Matthew 27? Well, what is happening is that the disciples loved their master. They lost their master. So, can you imagine? 3.5 years, you give up your family, your profession, to follow this amazing carpenter and Messiah. So suddenly, he's not there with you anymore, right? So you have questions. Usually when you have a question, you go to whom? To Jesus, right? If there was a problem, they went to whom? To Jesus, right? When they were acting like children, who was the person that brought back discipline and structure? Jesus, right? So now they are hiding themselves, and on top of that, the Jews are persecuting them. So they feel lost, they feel confused, and although Jesus spoke about dying for them in crucifixion, in a way of crucifixion, they still didn't really understood that was going to happen. So the story of Joseph of Arimathea is a story of hope, courage, and faith. Why? Well, think about it. He goes to Pilate. He asks for the body. So immediately Pilate is going to know you are one of the followers then. Then on top of that, if the other members of the council come to him and ask him, what are you going to do with the body of Jesus, the imposter? He's going to tell them, I gave it to Joseph of Arimathea. If that is not enough, he actually took the body of Jesus and he laid it down on his own tomb. And according to ancient Near East sensibilities, that was basically the most precious possession of a person, his own tomb. And he gave Jesus his very best. So in the middle of that story of persecution, right, and sadness, we are able to see hope, strength, and courage. And I want to ask something to you. Let's bridge the gap here a little bit. Why are you here today? We are preparing ourselves to celebrate another Easter service, right? Are you here because your mom asked you, please come to the church with me, or your wife asked you, please come to the church with me, or because you're having a crisis? All of those reasons are legitimate reasons. I'm not saying anything against those. But in the end, I want to invite you to have that relationship with Jesus, to allow the death and the resurrection of Jesus to move you just like He moved Joseph of Arimathea. There is not such a thing as an undercover Christian. Sooner or later, our identity has to be revealed so that we can share the good news of the gospel with other people, so that we can let them know that Jesus, yes, He died, He resurrected, but He lives on through the person of the Spirit in our lives. So I want to invite you, more than chocolate, more than a social meeting, more than tradition, allow the resurrection of Christ through hope, faith, and encouragement. Take courage and reflect the values of Christ and share them with other people. Allow the Spirit to continue to work in your life, and you will see how all things will be made new. May the Lord bless you.